Hey everybody, welcome back to GIS Chops and the second edition of Tool Belt Tuesday. Today I picked the Sequential Numbering Tool. That tool allows you to draw a sketch and then Pro will number the features that intersect with that sketch. You specify the layer, you specify the field, and you can even specify what increment you want the numbering to go. So let's dive in and take a look at that tool. So here we are in Breckenridge, Colorado. Shout out to the folks in Summit County, Colorado. I've got here a bunch of line features, a bunch of point features, and some polygon features, and we're going to number those sequentially. So you can get to the Sequential Numbering Tool through the Modify pane, and to open up the Modify pane you need to have the Edit tab active, and then just click this Modify button here, and that opens up the Modify pane. The Sequential Numbering Tool is in the Attributes group. You can scroll down and find it down here, or if you don't want to scroll, you can type in the name of the tool and Pro will find it for you. So it lets you specify the layer and the field, and if there's a name field, I think it defaults to that one. Let's keep it at my polygon layer and the name field. Now the format, it starts out with just a hash, and if you hover over that text box, you can see that it gives you some samples there. So if I type abc-hash, it's going to go abc-1, then abc-2, and so forth. If I want to have leading zeros before that, I add however many hashes I want to be before the number. So that would be 0001, 0002, like that. You can pick your start value. You can either enter a number here, or you can use the up and down arrows to change it. And then you can specify the increment, how many numbers you want it to go up by. So if I want it to go up every 2, then it's going to be 1, 3, 5, 7, and so forth. So let's pretend that these are parcels here, and one of the agencies I work for, their parcel format is like this. They have usually 4 digits with leading zeros, and we want it to start with 1 and increment by 1. The tool is active by default once you pick it from the Modify Features pane. So let's come into my map and let's number some polygons here. So you just start drawing a sketch, and you're able to use any of these sketch tools to make your sketch. So you just start drawing your sketch, and you can either, when you finish, you can either hit this green check mark with a square, you can press F2, or you can double click. So 3 ways you can finish that. And I've got these labeled with their name. So we have 1, 2, 3, and you can see it has the leading text in front of it. So in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now there's a little trick if there are overlapping polygons, and I'll show you what happens when you do have overlapping polygons. I've got 2 polygons up here in this upper right square, so I'm going to discard those and clear my selection. You notice that the features that were numbered became selected after you were finished with the tool. You'll notice here that the start value went up to start with the next one that you finished with, because we finished with 6 here, so it automatically went up to 7, so the next set of polygons we select will start with 7. I'm going to change that back to 1 so we can start with 1. Helps if you have your numlock key on. So again, there's 2 overlapping polygons in this spot right here. So I'm going to draw a sketch, and it's what features intersect that sketch first. So these over here intersected first, and then these 2 did. And on my attributes pane, you can see 3 got numbered first because the object ID was 10. 4's object ID is 18, so it got numbered second. So if you have overlapping features, the one with the lower object ID is going to get labeled first. That is, if it can't determine which one got intersected first. I think if we modified this number 18, like let's select only this, and then I'm going to edit the vertices, move those over here. Now if we do this, we'll start with 1 again. Now if we do it, I bet it will label that one that's closer first. So now our attributes, number 3 is the one that's furthest out. So its first rule is what intersects first, and then the second rule is if it can't determine which one it intersected first, it goes to the object ID. The one with the lowest object ID gets labeled first, or gets numbered first. So we'll also number line features, and the same rules apply. Whatever it intersects first, it numbers first, and then if you can't figure that out, then it goes by the object ID. So let's change this to my line layer, label my name field. Let's do just 2 hash marks. Start with 1 and increment by 1. So my line layer is tricky because I have one short line segment here for this square, but then But then I've got a long line that covers the whole all three smaller squares. So overlapping line here and an overlapping line over here. So if I use that same pattern, so here's 1, and then 2 is this bigger line, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 for the bigger line, 8 because it intersected this squiggly line, 9, 10, 11 is the shorter one, 12, and if you noticed, I intersected this line again, but because it got numbered over here, it got ignored over here. And 12, 13, 14, 15. So I hope I made that clear. It labels or numbers the thing it intersects first, and then if things overlap, it numbers them based off of which one has the lowest object ID. It numbers that one first. So that's line features. So you can number point layers as well. Let's switch to my point layer. Now you noticed it went to join ID. My join ID field is an integer, so it's a long integer. And if I try to modify the format, it doesn't let me. I can modify the format because it can put text into a field. So it's not going to let me put anything in there. It's not going to let me have leading zeros because that would make the number a text number, and you can't do that. So it's only going to let me modify the start value and the increment. If I change it to the name field, then it'll let me add text in there. So let's add some. Let's have it be 3 digits. Then you can even put stuff after. Let's have it start with 1. So with points, they're tricky. It's hard to get things to intersect with a point. So I could make a line and try to intersect with that point, but I doubt I get that first one. I can hit that one, and then if I go to this one, it will intersect that one because they're in a straight line. I know that because that's how I edited them. So if you're going to name or number points, you're probably going to have to snap to them. So, yep, I missed that first one. And I've got the labels on, so there we go. Point 1, AM, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like I say, I missed that first point. So that's the sequential numbering tool. I think it's very handy. ArcMap had something similar, but it was in the parcel fabric, and it didn't have the same format. It had a prefix and a suffix, but if you wanted to have leading zeros, you couldn't specify the number of leading zeros. You could only put them in the prefix, and that's tricky because if you put 3 zeros, that's good for 1 through 9, but once you hit 10, then you have to modify your prefix and take away a 0. I think this setup is a lot better, and it's not just for the parcels, it's for any features. So I think this is a very handy tool. Let me know what you think about it in the comments, or let me know what tool you'd like me to feature next week in Tool Belt Tuesday. So that's it today. Play around with it, get it in your tool belt. By the time you're done, hopefully you need suspenders for that tool belt. You'll know all the tools in ArcGIS Pro. So thanks for watching. See you next time.